In just a moment, you're going to hear the testimony of my dad, who has had a reoccurrence of his lymphoma cancer, how God has healed him not just once, but twice. It is my dad's prayer that when people hear his testimony, that they too will be encouraged and be healed of whatever sickness that they may have. I believe that God has healed my body and has healed my heart. I have felt better over the past few weeks than I have ever felt before, even before I went into the hospital. It is our prayer that as you hear this testimony, that you will grab hold of the promise of God, that He is the God that heals you. Please listen. God bless.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to greet you in the name of the Lord. In the book of Exodus, chapter 15 and verse 26, the word of the Lord says, I am the God that heals you. I am the God that heals you. What a powerful promise from the word of the Lord. Except there are those who do not believe that God heals today. That is their problem, isn't it? But when someone needs a miracle, they usually start believing in them. I know that each one of us that have followed the Lord have seen His miracles. About 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. And the doctor told me that I only had about a 50% chance of surviving. But within 90 days after the diagnosis, the doctor said, well, you had a belly full of cancer, but now it's gone. What an exciting thing. And I told the doctor, I said, you know, doctor, I think the only reason why I got cancer is because you needed to hear about Jesus. He's a doctor from India, and he was familiar with the work that Revival Fires does there. Well, just a few weeks ago, I was diagnosed again after a PET scan and CT scan and a diagnosis that my non-Hodgkin lymphoma cancer had returned. And as a result, the doctor said, those knots on your head, I became a real knothead, if you know what I mean. Knots on your head, it was up above my left ear, and one in my neck, one under my right arm, and others in my body. He said, your cancer has returned. Well, that wasn't good news to me because I had not invited it to come back. In fact, it was not welcome, but it happened anyway. And I thought, well, perhaps there's people who need to hear about Jesus that didn't hear about Him the time before. I'll never forget when the young doctor that did my diagnosis to find out for sure that I have cancer in my lymph nodes. And he said, I've got the results of your biopsy. Would you like to hear it? And I said, well, why not? I said, am I going to go out and meet my best friend? He said, who's that? I said, his name is Jesus. I said, who's your best friend? He said, well, it's not Jesus. So I had an opportunity to talk to him and visit with him, witness to him. Told him that Jesus is the best friend he would ever have. When I sat down with my oncologist, he began telling me how that they had a special pill, very powerful pill that I could take. Instead of going the chemo route, there was a chemo pill. He said, but I can tell you that your cancer is so advanced that you only have a 30% chance of survival if you take this pill. And he said, if you don't take the pill or if the pill doesn't work, you've got about 7 months of life left here on this earth because that cancer is very hungry there with that knot on your head, and it's headed toward your brain. Well, we begin to weigh all of the options. And I just said to the Lord, I said, Lord, I'm ready. You want to take me? That's fine. When my job here is finished, I want to go home to be with you. And so they ordered the pills, and the Lord miraculously provided for them because their cost is $17,800 a month. would you believe? Well, I'd taken them almost a week when I was feeling very rotten. Just about a little more than 2 weeks ago, and it's about 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep, hadn't slept since 2 o'clock, and all of a sudden I felt a heavenly presence. Yes, I was surprised too. It wasn't an angel. There were no wings, no bright lights, just the figure of a very common dressed man standing in my bedroom. We have total security at our house, so the alarms didn't go off. So I knew that it had to be someone that didn't trigger the security. Let me tell you something, folks. I've been a minister of the gospel. I'm in my 71st year. All of those years, I've never had a heavenly visitor. So this came as a shock, a surprise to say the least. I thought this messenger from heaven had come to take me home because I felt so bad. And I communicated with the visitor, and I said, now, my wife sleeps very light, so don't say anything that would awaken her. But I expected him to say, come on and go with me. I'd read books about this, and I'd heard people tell about this. But you know, he was only there a few minutes. And then he left as quickly as he came, and left me in astonishment, and certainly surprised, but very, very excited. I wondered what he was there for. I found out. He was there to bring healing from his visit, because it was right after that everything took a turn for the better. The knot started going down in my head, and just the very next day I was visiting with my doctor in Springfield, and I said, Doctor, I've been healed. Well, he was excited about it too. And he went over and felt where that big knot had been. Then he felt where the knot had been in my neck and under my arm. They were all gone. Jesus did it, folks. When God said, I am the God that healeth thee, he's talking about us, his kids. And I'm happy to tell you today that those knots are all gone. The doctors and the nurses are all thrilled. We're getting ready for a PET scan that's going to confirm all of this. But for now, I can tell you, if you need healing, the great physician, Jesus, can do it. He's done it to me on several occasions, and the last one just a couple of weeks ago. Maybe you need healing in your body, your marriage, or your finances, or relationships, whatever they are. We serve a God who can take care of it. And I want to invite you to let the Lord touch you. You may not get a heavenly visitor in the flesh, or even in a form that looks like it's in the flesh, but I can guarantee you that God hears and answers every prayer. And he is just waiting to hear from you, mister. From you, lady, you young person. He wants to heal you, help you, save you, and welcome you into heaven. He said in his word, whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord will be saved. Do you need to call on him today? Do you need to seek his face? Do you need the God that heals to heal you? Do you need spiritual, physical, emotional, or even mental healing? Jesus can do it all. And I point you to Jesus today, and get out of his way so he can help you. God bless you good.